Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Cote, and I'm your podcast host on today's episode. And today on the show, we have John Roescher, founder and CEO of Raw Materials, as my guest. We're going to be talking about his business, his journey to business ownership, challenges, and best practices that he's had along the way to give you an inside look to what it's really like to own and operate a business. If this is your first time on our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop episodes like this. Welcome, John. It is great to meet you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Kay.
Yes, well, I'd like to dive in. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh, about myself. Well, where do we start? I'm from Texas, and I live in Austin, which is not too far from where I grew up, in a small town called Lockhart. And I started a business in Austin in about 2011. And that business exists today, perhaps in another permutation. But I've been running that business now for almost 15 years. And that business is a design agency, which is kind of an extension of mm, a, a grouping of my interests. It was kind of an accidental, natural thing for me to start. And so that is a bit about myself because I am very interested in things and the design of things and how they look and how they work and why they exist. That includes businesses and toys and cars and then of course in the digital world with apps and websites and campaigns and things like that. I've always been fascinated by that, as well as very fascinated and inspired, enamored, motivated by creators and people who can use their hands to make things physical or digital. And so that that's what I'm interested in, and also what I've made my career out of.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. Well, I'm also a fellow creative and designer, so I'm super excited to share this information, especially so many of our audience are creators as well. So share a little bit about raw materials. What kind of things are you creating over there?
Well, the first thing that we're creating at Raw Materials is Raw Materials itself. And I say we, so I work with my partners, Jennifer Allen and Pablo Marquez. And the three of us took the business that I had been running for a long time. It was called Handsome, and it was based here in Austin, and used that as kind of wet clay to form this new company, Raw Materials. And we think of Raw Materials as a creative company, and we even named it as such, Raw Materials, to keep it in that kind of forever. What can we make with the things that we've got kind of mindset? And um, and so we're making this company. We make some of our own products and ideas, and then we also work with clients as a quote agency to do creative projects for them. And so it's kind of nice. We get to partner with different companies and make things. We can make things ourselves and kind of think about how to solve problems. So the bulk of what we work on and focus on though is in the world of digital products and digital experiences. And so the easiest way to describe this to anyone who lives in this world today is apps and websites and things that you can do and use online. Um, to people who might be a little more familiar with the space, we design and develop web-based and native mobile and headset and car-based and kiosk-based digital experiences and digital products for companies like Peacock and 7-Eleven and but some big companies, as well as smaller startups and bigger startups that exist in the AI space and defense technology space and restaurants and hotel experiences and kind of everything in between.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm excited to dive into this conversation because this is something that so many businesses need help with is, designing and creating some of these tools and these experiences. And so let's dive in a little bit more about you. What's your why behind, raw materials or just even being a creative in general?
Well, great question because I have a few different things, and some of these I didn't really discover until a few years ago, which was the inspiration for transitioning into raw materials. But like I said in the beginning, I I have always been so excited and interested in things. I'm the kind of person that sees an object, I pick it up, I look at it, how is it made? What are the qualities of it? That's neat. As well as experiences in hospitality, as well as art and even vocal art and singing and things you can't see but you can hear. I love those things and I always have. Plus, I cannot, for the help of anyone out there, can't make anything on my own. I just can't. There's a brain hand disconnect that I've never been able to overcome. And so I think it's the fascination by creators and the act of creating something. And then the desire, and then without being able to do it, there's a desire to support people who can make things. I also believe wholeheartedly in the power of creativity to solve any problem and create any fortune that anyone could want. Um, and so the triangulation of those things led me to want to create an agency where I could employ and support and build a team of creatives and then direct that energy toward client problems to make things that are both beautiful and consequential to the business and to people and maybe even to the world. And so that led me naturally down the path. I think the thing that is giving me a lot of direction right now is seeing the way that things kind of post internet, uh, the way that things have gone recently in say last 5 to 10 years in terms of we've gotten so good at making things that we have started to make things all look and act the same. And so there is a this pervasive homogeneity in a lot of the things that we consume from, and I'm talking on a mass level, from music to digital banking to software to movies and kind of everything. We have cracked the initial formula on how to make a thing, and then we've gotten really good at scaling our ability to make it. But what is being left out and being minimized is creativity. And so
Mm.
on one hand bums me out. It's just kind of sad because of a person who likes beautiful things. I'm saying, okay, this is all kind of where's the cool new stuff. On the other side, from a business perspective and even a capitalistic perspective, I see that as the greatest opportunity. And so raw materials, we say when everything is the same, different is the greatest opportunity. And so again, I get to use the thing that I am just emotionally passionate about, happens to be very valuable if applied into business situations. And I just say, quote, business, it could be small, big, or anything anyone's trying to do. And so I'm working with raw materials to kind of hone that and be able to deliver and apply those ideas. And so my why is so kind of intertwined in all these things. But again, it was only until a few years ago that I was able to figure out that personal reason. Because for so long I felt like it was kind of just happening because it was happening, and now I have a really strong direction toward it.
Oh, that is cool. I absolutely love your story because it just like the quote you just gave me was when everything is the same, different is the opportunity. That is so true. And so I'm excited to kind of see how your team is doing that. And you mentioned your team, you mentioned your partners. Do you have any other teammates or do you work with contractors? How's the structure and how many teammates do you have?
I would say currently there are about 40 people working with raw materials on our projects, internal and external projects. And we're anywhere between uh, a third and a half with being kind of full-time in-house people versus, and then the rest being contractors. I think it's nice for us, and even the predecessor to Raw Materials, Handsome, was a much larger company, and we still tried to maintain this idea of having a really strong full-time internal core, that could be a large enough kind of center of gravity where we could develop a culture and a way of doing things that could then, you know, gather the external resources and partners and people that we worked with, including clients, to kind of come in and be a part of that. And so I think it's good that we have the flexibility to work with contractors and freelancers and partner agencies and studios and even client teams. So we have that flexibility, but we only have that flexibility because we have a strong enough core to maintain who we are.
Definitely. Well, the teamwork makes the dream work for sure. Kind of going into your client base. Now, if I were, want to work with you and I was a client, potential client coming through your doors, how would I know I'd be a good fit for you?
Another great question. You know, there's a not very helpful answer, which I'll give first, and then I'll try to dive into it a little bit more. And I think the not very helpful answer is, you know, if you are trying to truly make something or make a change at a fairly significant level with the expectation of seeing a very significant outcome or consequence of that, and you think that that is within the realm of branding, brand design, marketing and communications, the way that you engage with your customers and or audience. And then especially if you think that making use of the internet and other kind of innovations and technologies would be useful. And so I think that's, but the problem with that answer is I think that's everyone. It's 100% of people. And so then I think really to get into it is, you know, there's I need to follow up on who this quote's from. I think there's something along the lines of focus. A business should focus on what makes their beer taste better, and that's a. I mean, if you're a brewery, I guess that's literal. But if you're not, then that's kind of a metaphor for, you know, you invented your business. You started your business for a reason, to solve a problem. You had a novel idea. You, as a business owner, were extremely creative in a moment where you saw there is a better way to do something and that is of value and I should do it. That's all creativity is. That's all we're ever doing. Um, Now, the problem with that is you have to always forever kind of realize that idea and then scale that idea. And those acts need creativity to do them well and to do them to the maximum amount. But you also have, but they kind of become secondary or tertiary problems that you're solving. Not making your beer taste better, but getting it out there to more people, getting it in a new state. I don't know, extend the metaphor, right? And so if you think that you can bring in a partner, because that's what we're going to be. If you think that you're in a place where you could bring in a partner to collaborate on creating a better way to communicate with your customers, a better way to deliver that value to customers, and you're ready to have a partner help kind of work on that, then I think it's a great time. I think that'd be a great client.
Mm, that is so cool. Thank you for sharing about your clients and as well as your as the company as you're going into it and kind of bringing it back to leadership. Leadership on the team, especially when you think about doing projects like this, you need that synergy between the team. What is your leadership style within your team, and how are you guiding your team?
I think, you know, I've always been attracted to the title, uh, the, the title of servant leadership. Now, I think there are probably some proprietary definitions of what that means that you know, I may or may not have read the books that describe that, you know, but I think what that means to me is personally, I think my only job, and I said this in the beginning, which is what motivates me, why I like the position I'm in, is to enable other people to do great things. I think I try to enable individuals, say, hey, here is the goal, here's the bigger goal. How are we going to break that down into things that you can go off and achieve? And then let me help you rise to that occasion. Let me help you grow into that thing. And then just, you know, provide with humility and an understanding that we're all humans and I have my own, experiences, provide as much kind of guidance and steering as I can, as far as it's helpful. There is a right place for each of us to kind of fit into and to be doing the work that really means something to us. And so if it is a good fit for someone, then it's about enabling that person to do that, So I think that's I said in the very beginning, I don't consider myself, well, I know this, I've admitted that I'm not a practitioner myself. I don't make a thing, I don't do a thing. And so I love my role as helping other people do things. And that's not an empty statement because I am following it up with the fact that I know I can't. Regardless of what we're talking about, I just have that problem. But what I am good at is seeing an opportunity and helping other people rise to that occasion.
Oh, definitely. Thinking about that is, yeah, you're bringing all the team members in to help with that synergy and cohesiveness. Looking back at your years in business, what is something you faced, or maybe a challenge you faced? It could be anything that you were forced to overcome.
I haven't had really any challenges. I'm joking. I'm joking. So
I was
no,
like, you're lucky.
I think it's the amount of challenges that has been the challenge. I think the I think just for one, starting back in the very beginning, this business has always been bootstrapped. So we always had to um, eat what you kill kind of thing, and a struggle with, um, fake it till you make it, struggle with not knowing, um, not knowing where the next meal is going to come from. And so then there are always decisions about, okay, we're pretty good here, but if we're stagnant, if you're not moving, you're dying, especially as a business. And so how do we balance that risk to go and do the next thing when that is a gamble and that's a risk? And so I think that that led me to one phase of kind of challenge and growth was one where I found myself running by the numbers a successful business. We, you know, we paid $1 for the thing and we sold it for two, a very successful business and we were growing that number. And then, but you take a look in another way, you kind of turn the elephant and you look at a different side of it. And I say, but if I were to measure the amount of money we're making doing the work that we tell the world we do that we want to do. So if we say, hey, we're doing these kinds of things this way, and then I look at where the money is actually coming from, and we're doing those things that way, it ends up being a pretty low number and not sustainable. And so that's a really difficult trap to get in. I think service-based businesses, you threat you're always under that threat, right? It's like there's a kind of normal like you make a lot of money doing the work you don't want to do, so you could afford to do the work you do want to do, and that sounds
Hmm.
nice, but that's actually a really dangerous trap. And so I found myself in that trap, and I was able to get out of that by setting some pretty scary principles for myself in the business, and it all came down to this one idea of your business should exist only to the extent that you can generate demand for what it is you want to be selling. Um,
Hmm.
so, okay, well, that's fine. But if we can't generate demand for that, then I guess we're going to go out of business. Yeah, we are. Because I don't want to be in the business of selling blue wheels when in fact I'm out to sell green trees, even though I can make a lot of money. And so I think that principle helped then to establish a lot of clarity for our audience and our customers. And then at the end of the day, when we were able to get traction on selling the things we wanted to be doing, we had an extremely authentic brand, an authentic culture, and a portfolio that represented the kind of work that we wanted to be selling. And then we were off and running. So I think that was a pretty strong pivot for me because it was really risky.
Definitely. That I could see that, like, that being a big challenge and something to overcome for sure. This has been such an enlightening conversation so far. It's been so fun to hear about what you're building, what you've built over the years, and how you're moving forward. And so, looking at the next 3 to 5 years, where do you see the company going?
My hopes are that we can, in 3 to 5 years, I want to be able to look back and say we have left on the path that we've been on. We have left uh, deposits of groundbreaking, kind of world-changing work if we're going to be ambitious, right? And that what we've been able to do with that is show the world that creativity is the most impactful and valuable resource that we have as humans. And here's proof. Here's a thing that's out there in the world that everyone in the world loves, and it's objectively and subjectively beautiful and amazing. Here's a thing over here that took a business that was dying and turned it into the next great thing. And here's a thing over here that reinvented something or helped, take AI and make it useful and valuable. And it's these kinds of things that we can build this story behind us that kind of shines a light on where we should go and inspires other people to do that. I think that's the goal. So it's not really a quantitative goal. It's not an exit. It's more of telling a story. And I hope that the story that we are able to tell in 5 years is one of inspiration toward using human creativity to make great things and create great fortunes.
Definitely. Well, this again has been such a great conversation. I am excited to see you reach those goals, reach what you're doing. And now I'd like to dive into a fun part of the questions Q&A, which is our rapid fire questions where you answer 4 questions very top of mind. Are you ready for some rapid fire?
We'll see.
All right. Question number 1 is, what is a key to success for you?
A key to success is being goal oriented.
Definitely. Question number 2 is, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
Um, the advice is to not settle for best and instead push into the territory that is better than best. Push into
Mm.
the territory that is unexpected. You can get by doing things just better than the rest, because I guess that's the definition of competition. But when you are unexpectedly better than the best, you are defensible. No one can catch up. You're ahead of things. You're creating your own territory. You're zigging when others zag. And I think that's my biggest advice.
Love that for sure. And number 3 is, what is a book or a piece of content, could be anything, a podcast that you've taken in most recently?
Um, you know, there's a book called Poor Charlie's Almanac, which is it's a group of texts from Charlie Munger, some speeches, some letters, some essays, and I love that it's a group of things, and I love that it's a good way to see into a mind that has that it's a in our age it's an old mind, so he's passed, and he was prolific for a very long time as an investor. I'm sure most people know who that name is. And it's just great to kind of see that, to kind of take a step back and look at what someone like him thought of and did, and how he was able to express his ideas over time. So I love that book.
Oh, I put that down. I'm gonna definitely have to check that out. And the final question for the rapid fire is, if you could overnight improve, like if you could wave a magic wand, overnight improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
I would have I would be better at communicating the the real quantitative measurable impact that the work we're doing can have on businesses. Like I said, we're only a couple of years in. We've done some work that's won all of the awards that an agency like ours could win. We're D&AD Design Agency of the Year. We've won Cannes Lions and Webbies and all of these kinds of things. We've launched products that are incredible. And so we have a bit of a story we're starting to tell, but we're still really young. So if I could wave a magic wand, I would accelerate that portfolio by a couple of years and have it now, because then we would be, we'd be in a lot better place.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And before we get to our final question of the day, how can people get a hold of you, find your business, and how can they connect with you online?
So finding me on LinkedIn would be great. I'd love to connect with anyone. Send me a connection, a message, as well as therawmaterials.com is a good spot to find out about the agency.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, John, for our final question today. What is most inspiring to you today?
You, you're inspiring to me right now, Kay. Yeah, I think
Oh, thank you.
loved the questions, loved the energy. You're doing something that I'm not doing, and I always find that very inspiring.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And again, it was such a joy to talk to you and hear your story. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks, Kay.